Hi everybody and welcome to a special birthday edition of Poppy's Cucina. Yep, today's my birthday, got my hat and everything, so does Lulu, yay. So I decided to throw myself a pizza party. So you want to see everything pizza, how to make the dough and everything from scratch? Just keep watching. Yeah, we're having pizza. Yeah. She's not showed up, but she's definitely excited, I could assure you. Right? You're excited? You'll be excited when you see the pizza? All right, so keep watching. So to start, you need 2¼ cups of warm water. You want the water to be between 110 and 115 degrees. This is 116. All right, close enough. Because if the water is too hot, the yeast will burn and it'll die. If it's too cold, the yeast won't activate. So first you want to dissolve 1 tablespoon of sugar in that water. Give it a quick little stir. Then you're going to add 1½ tablespoons of active dry yeast. It's the equivalent of 2 packs. All right, so you're going to stir that in, and then you're going to wait till it's all activated. You'll see it'll have a nice big bubbly head. All right, should take about 5 minutes. While you're waiting for your yeast to activate, you're going to add in your stand mixer with the hook attachment, or you could do a large bowl if you want, 5½ cups of all-purpose flour, 2 teaspoons of salt, and 1/4 cup of olive oil. Pour that right in. And then when the yeast is ready, we're going to pour that in. All right. Right, and your yeast looks like this. Look at that. It's like a nice big beer. It's ready to use. So now we're going to pour this into the flour mixture, and then we're going to mix on medium speed for about 5 minutes until you get a nice dough ball. If your dough looks a little too wet, like this one, add a little bit more flour. Do about, a heaping tablespoon at a time. Once your dough is ready, you're going to knead it on your counter a few times, and then you have your nice big dough ball. As you can see, this makes a lot of pizza dough, this recipe. So this is enough to make 3 really large pies or 4, medium-sized pies. So we're going to cut this and then roll them into separate little bowls. Just like that. So now we're going to let these bad boys rise. So in a bowl that you poured some olive oil, or I did a sheet tray right now that I poured some olive oil on so they don't stick. See, they're nice and mobile on top of there. We are going to pour a little bit more of olive oil on top. We do this so that they don't get a crust on top. You're going to rub it on. Nice and smooth. All right, and then you're going to cover this and leave it in a warm spot so they could double in size. Probably about an hour and a half. A trick I like to do, because today it's a cold, damp day in New Jersey, so what I like to do is I'll turn on the oven just for like 5 minutes and then shut it off. So the internal temperature of the oven is going to be about 90 degrees. I'm going to cover this in plastic wrap, and in there it's going to go, so it'll give it nice, ample, warm spot for them to rise. All right, so we'll see these guys in about an hour and a half. Forgot to mention, you want to cover them, either with a towel or some plastic wrap like I just did. All right, so now into the warmed up oven they're going to go. Don't let the oven get too hot, because then you're going to kill the yeast and your dough's not going to do anything. So remember, you want the perfect proofing temperature for dough is like around 80, 85 degrees. All right. Okay, so it's been an hour and a half, and now look at these guys. They're huge. All right, so maybe I made too much dough. I can never have enough dough. All right, so now we're going to start preparing some pizzas. First, we're going to start the deep dish. Okay, for the deep dish pizzas, I'm going to be using these 9-inch cake rounds. What we're going to do is we're going to take about ½ a tablespoon of butter, rub the whole inside. All right, and then it's ready for the crusts. Once you have your pans all nice and buttered, you're going to drizzle a little bit of olive oil. Okay. And now you're ready for the crust. Okay, once you got your dough in, you want the dough to go up a little bit on the sides. We're going to cover these again and let them rise for another hour. Next, we're going to make a white pie. So you're going to want to put a little flour on your countertop, a little more flour on top. And you're going to flatten this out and roll it out as big as you want. You want to make it a super thin crust, roll it out really big. You want it thicker, don't roll it out as much. We're going to do like a medium size. All right, so I'm going to roll this out by hand. Okay, so I rolled this out to about 16 inches. Now it's going to be ready for its toppings. So first we're going to start with a nice drizzle of olive oil that we're going to spread over the entire crust. You only need maybe about a tablespoon. And then with the brush of your hands, you're just going to spread it out. Once you got the dough all nice and evenly coated, you're ready for your sauce. We're gonna use an Alfredo sauce for the white pie. All right, you can make your own, or you could just use a regular jarred one. I'm just using a jarred one for this one because making Alfredo sauce just for a pizza seems kind of silly because I'm gonna want fettuccine and yada yada yada. So I'm just using this jarred one. You want to do a nice thin coating, like about as much as if you were doing a sauce, like a red sauce. All right, so you're gonna get that nice and coated. Once you got your sauce on, we're gonna start with our seasonings. First, I'm gonna use some dried basil. Got that nice little layer going on here. Okay, that looks good. Then some garlic. At this point, if you want to do oregano, you want to do pepper or onion powder or whatever else, you could do that as well. I'm just doing basil and garlic. All right. Now we're ready for the cheese. So I used about 2 cups of cheese. I used mozzarella and provolone blend. So I think that works best for the next ingredient, and that is ricotta. So you're gonna do some nice dollops, or if you want to be fancy, cannelles of ricotta around the pie. Just like a heaping teaspoon. All right, so you get that all over where you want it. It spreads out a little bit, but not that much when it's baking. So it's pretty much just gonna be a nice little glob on every slice. That's how we want it. So it's gonna add so much flavor. Just make it so rich. Pizza. All right, so we got some nice little globules around. Made some smaller, some bigger. All right. Now we're ready for the last ingredient. Looks good already. Okay, so for the last ingredient, I got a block of Asiago cheese, because you know how much I love my Asiago. My potato peeler, and I shaved nice big strips of the Asiago right on top. So I'm covering the ricotta, some not, but then it's just gonna melt right onto the pizza, adding some crazy bursts of flavor. All right, so now we're gonna let this sit for an hour before we put it in the oven. Okay, so for our last dough, we're not gonna do a pizza, but we're starting out the same way, but we're gonna make a Stromboli. So you're gonna start out the same way with the floured surface, a little more flour on the underside, and then you're gonna roll it to a large rectangle, all right? Just like that. All right, now it's ready for the filling. Okay, so I added my meat. I did an Italian frenzy here. I got a layer of prosciutto, sorpressata, capicola, salami, and pepperoni. And now we're gonna add some mozzarella cheese in the middle. All right, so I added my mozzarella cheese in the middle. I'm using a block of mozzarella cheese that I sliced. I used about 1/3 of it, so figure about 1.5 cups. And then I moistened the outer edges, and now we're gonna fold it. We're gonna do a tri-fold. We're gonna fold it once this way, and then once that way. All right, just like that. All right, so now we're gonna brush off the excess flour, and we're gonna place this on our baking sheet, seam side down, so this part would be the bottom, and then we're gonna let this sit for an hour before we put it in the oven as well. So it's seam side down. Now we're just gonna drizzle with a little bit of olive oil, because again, we don't want this to get dry. So just a little sprinkle, and we're gonna rub it to cover the whole thing. All right, now we're gonna let this sit for 1 hour. You can see how much it poofs up again. Ooh, this is gonna be a party. Okay, so we let these sit for another hour, and you can see how much they poofed up again. Really nice. They're gonna be nice and airy. So we're gonna start with a nice drizzle of olive oil right on the center. And then this one. Okay. All right. All right, now the sauce. Okay, for the sauce, I'm using a can of crushed tomatoes with basil. I don't like to use pizza sauces because, again, they tend to be too sweet, and I like to season my own. So we're gonna get this sauce right on here. We're gonna go a nice thick layer of sauce. We're gonna do both, and then get ready for the cheese. So the first pizza, I added some seasoning. I added some basil, some garlic, a little bit of onion, salt. Again, you can add whatever you want. You could do your oregano, your red pepper flakes, or whatever. But we're gonna do our cheese. I cubed the rest of the cheese that I had. the block cheese. All right, and we're gonna do a nice coating. That looks pretty good. All right, and then we're gonna add some pepperoni. All right, so we're gonna get the top covered in pepperoni. Just like that, and then you're gonna add a little bit more sauce right on top of that. Nice. So get lots of sauce on there. All right. Then we're gonna add a little bit more seasoning. Maybe another sprinkle of some cheese. Maybe we'll do some Parmesan cheese on top of this. That's ready to go. That looks good. Now for the second pizza, we're gonna get crazy. For the second deep dish, I did the same thing with the seasonings. I added the basil, the garlic, the onion, salt. Again, add whatever you want, you know, leave a little bit more salt or pepper, red pepper flakes. But now we're gonna top it with some cooked rigatoni. I told you this was gonna be crazy. We're gonna add this pasta right on top of the sauce. This is a carb on carb overload. All right, so we're gonna get this pasta all on here, nice and coated. I'll show you what to do next. Just like that. I don't know if I mentioned it, the pasta's cooked. I cooked it a little extra al dente. All right, so now we're gonna throw on some ricotta. You're just gonna do a spread of ricotta cheese right on top of this. So it's like you're gonna have baked ziti on top of a pizza. Like I said, I told you this was gonna be crazy. It's very reminiscent of a pizza I had when I was back in college all those years ago. It was so good. It was one of my favorites. I think they did a vodka sauce. And they didn't do the ricotta. But it was fun having the pasta on the pizza. All right, so we did a nice coating. Got everything nice and coated like that. All right. Looks good. All right, then we're gonna do a nice sprinkling of Parmesan cheese. Then the mozzarella is going on top of this. All right, you're gonna get it all nice and coated. Once you got all your cheese on, now you want to top with the sauce. Now for this one, I'm not using the crushed tomatoes. I'm actually using a jarred marinara sauce. Because, I mean, you got to have marinara sauce on top of pasta, right? You know, I'm using my favorite, the Rayo's. Again, I could have made it. I think I have some actually in the fridge already made, but, you know, this one's just as good. Well, maybe not just as good, but it's tasty and it'll do what it needs to. All right, so then we're going to top this with the sauce. Then top with a little bit more Parmesan cheese. Like that. And then the last of the mozzarella that we have. Not a lot, but there's a lot of cheese underneath. All right, now this is ready for the oven too. So here we have our pizza lineup. It's all looking pretty good, and it's all ready for the oven. So you're going to want to bake this in a preheated 450-degree oven for about 15-20 minutes or until all the crusts are nice and golden brown. So everything's going to cook nice and quick. And I think Lulu would approve. There's Lulu. There's Lulu. I know you're ready to celebrate, Lulu, but I know but it still has to cook. I still have to cook everything. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'll hurry. I'll hurry. She can't wait for these pizzas either. Soon, Lulu, soon. Lulu, I'm sorry I had to put you in the hole, but you were trying to knock me down while I was putting things in the oven. This is for your own protection, Lulu. This is for your own protection, okay? Now you can be safe until everything's ready. All right? All right, good girl. And here we have, everything is done. Everything looks amazing. And we're ready to party. So if you make this recipe, let us know. Enjoy.